Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. We're about to get going here on one Mike Messier YouTube channel, also on Instagram. If this thing kicks in, we'll be on Instagram shortly. Hallelujah, praise Jesus. We are on Instagram. Hopefully, you can hear me. Hopefully, you can hear me now on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, if you're on X, it looks like we're not on X Live, but I might be rebroadcasting this. You can comment. This is 3:37 a.m. Eastern day D time, EDT, Eastern Standard Time, on Monday, July 29th, 2024. Now, if you happen to be watching a replay of this, don't be concerned. This is what you call evergreen. This is content that'll last forever. This is your buddy Mike Messier going to discuss this wonderful TV series titled, dun, 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 it's titled Life and Beth, not Life of Beth, although that will probably be a Mandela effect in the future, just like Sex in the City and Sex with the City or Sex in the City, Sex and the City. So, what did I think? If you're not familiar of Life and Beth season two, I did review Life and Beth season one. It's our girl there, Amy Schumer, kind of one of those lover or hater or love to hate personalities. She's kind of following in the footsteps, perhaps, of, dare I say, Roseanne or other people who, I find Amy Schumer to be talented. I have seen some of the Amy Schumer steals jokes compilations. I am aware of that. I am aware of her roast joke of one of the Johnny Knoxville guys, kind of making a poorly, but that's what roasts are. I mean, they're supposed to be badly, timed, ill fated jokes on people, but she basically made a death joke that wasn't very well appreciated. What else about Amy Schumer? A couple of like 5 or 6, 7 years ago, she had done a movie with Goldie Hawn that I actually saw that I thought was pretty good. And she did some type of like homage video to a Beyonce video at the time, and people thought that Amy was what's the phrase for that? Um, Ripping off the culture, so to speak, as the kids say. She was what's that word when you take someone else's thing and you make it your own? Not paying tribute, but you're like you're stealing their cultural vibe. In any event, I can't think of the fucking appropriation. They thought Amy was appropriating Beyonce's video and so forth. So I don't know. But I mean, I think if anything, any Amy Schumer offenses, I mean, she did fornicate with Dolph Ziggler. You could say that she's related in a sense, a vagina cousin to Sonny, who's now behind bars of all the wonderful women that Dolph Ziggler has bedded for all the wrestling fans. Amy Schumer, in my opinion, I think she's actually talented. I mean, I do. I mean, I didn't see Trainwreck in the theater. I saw it a couple of years later. I thought it was good. I thought the movie with Goldie Hawn was decent. I have sat there and watched her stand up and think she's talented and funny. But at the same time, I can thoroughly acknowledge that it seems like her TV show, the Inside Amy Schumer Show, did have a lot of rip-offs material. So I don't know. I mean, but I do find that in something like this, Life and Beth, as far as I know, there's not a bunch of stand-up comedians claiming that she stole this show from them. I don't know if the show is autobiographical or not, but it says from the mind of Amy Schumer. And I watched season one and enjoyed it. And I'm watching season two, or I just watched season two and enjoyed it. By the way, if you happen to be here at 3:41 a.m. Monday morning, you can comment in live time. If not, you can comment anyway, and I'll see you on the rebound or whatever the fuck. But basically, I do respond to comments. What brought me back for season two? Well, first off, I did enjoy season one. I think I watched season one in like a weekend, apparently 8 months ago is when I saw it. I didn't realize that Life and Beth season two has been out for like 6 months or for a while now. Um, what I like about this show and several shows that are like Hulu type of shows, or um, you feel like these characters are very real. These feel like real people. Obviously, we know Michael Cera here from Superbad and all these other things. Have you ever seen that parody on Saturday Night Live of Quirky Girl? That's hilarious. That's like a parody of Zoe Deschanel's show, and Michael Cera's like a supporting parody. He gets parodized in it, but that's hilarious. Uh, Beth, go if you haven't seen this show. First off, see season one, and I'll do like the non-spoiler review first. But basically, it's about a modern day woman. I guess we could say she's 35-ish, although Amy is probably, 10 years older than that in real life. I'm not sure. But maybe she's like 40. I don't know. But the character is like mid to late 30s. I think in the first episode or one of the first episodes of season one, she and her younger sister, who have kind of this tough relationship with each other because they're kind of survivors of a tough childhood. Their father was kind of absentee. The father is played by Michael Rappaport, which is interesting. And then their mother was kind of an eccentric. Their mother was kind of a tart, as they used to say. And these two girls kind of grew up, with the older sister, Amy's character, Beth, protecting the younger sister. But eventually, the older sister goes off to college and she couldn't protect her little sister anymore. And we learn all this stuff through a series of flashbacks. Like we have another set of actors that are playing the sisters at a younger age. And I think throughout the series, we do have other characters that kind of get flashbacked to their childhood, which is kind of the same thing. If you saw my review on Unprisoned with Kerry Washington in a different way, Unprisoned is kind of listed more as a comedy sitcom. This one is more of a dramedy, but to me, like they both feel kind of similar in a lot of ways. The Unprisoned show also uses a technique of childhood actors playing the same characters, but in that show, the children versions of the characters interact, like the inner childs interact with the Kerry Washington character. In this show, it's just more like traditional flashbacks. And I will give kudos to the young actress who plays the young Amy Schumer's Beth, whoever the young, I don't know her name, but the young actress I think does a very great job. You could probably say she's one of the stronger actors on the whole series, adult or child. And also the younger sister, child actress, I think does a great job too. So very good casting for those kid actors. As a matter of fact, I would say this: I see a lot of movies and stuff, and whenever they have kid actors, it's amazing that some of these young people are so talented and able to capture such emotions at a young age. So clap clap, because I think being a kid actor is probably a real tough thing. We've seen that that series on the Dan, what's that guy's name? Dan, the creepy producer guy, and the green slime, the Nickelodeon stuff. So I mean, I hope that these kid actors are protected in Hollywood better these days because a lot of them are very talented and they're hardworking, I'm sure. And it's a challenge, and I think that adults are often processing their childhood and they're writing screenplays and movie scripts and TV scripts to represent their childhood angst, but without good child actors to portray these situations, you wouldn't have such quality performances, obviously. So heads up and wonderful, wonderful. Getting back to the show, season two, we kind of go deeper into the woods. I think in season one, the Michael Cera, boyfriend into husband character just got introduced in the last two or three episodes. Beth had been dating around and breaking up with another guy and this and that. But in season two, it's all about the relationship. They basically get married. They go to New Orleans, baby. The Big Easy, baby. They have a little road trip to New Orleans to get married. We get to see a little bit New Orleans. And then they find out that I will say she's pregnant. I know the kids like to say that they're pregnant, but I'll just say she's pregnant. She's pregnant with the baby. We learned that the husband character, I'm not sure what his name is right now, Zebediah. He's got like some type of Asperger's, or I guess that's no longer a politically correct term. Sorry. He's got some type of autism, and he's a good character because he does have faults. He's playing basketball on their wedding night. He obsesses over cleaning up the house, but he's kind of got that, like, autism thing where like he hyper focuses on something, a task, and it usually is for the greater good. But that's totally opposite of the Beth character, whose kind of mind is all over the place, and she's kind of always multitasking, and she's analyzing her feelings in real time, and she's always kind of doing stuff. So I mean, just as a human being, I can kind of relate to both characters. Sometimes I get very tunnel visioned on something, like writing a story or working on something, and I kind of forget about people. And sometimes I get too worked up about people, and phone calls and problems and situations, and I forget to do stuff. So I mean, I think we every person probably falls somewhere in that spectrum. But what I think is really nice about these two characters as a couple is they show some character traits that all of us probably have. And they probably, not to use the spectrum term, but I will. There's the spectrum of Beth, who's kind of on the overthinker, underdoer category, and her husband. It's hard to do this. Her husband, who's kind of like overdoes stuff, but under feels at times because he's got that challenge. But he is a smart character because he's willing to go see a therapist and get help and stuff, and he's trying his best, which is nice. Some of the other characters we meet, which I thought was good. The ex-boyfriend of Beth's character, can't remember his name either. He discovers that he's been a father for like 16 years, never knew that he had a daughter. I guess the story was he had a hookup or a girlfriend that he impregnated without realizing it. She never told him that he was a father. She told another guy that that guy was the father, and then it turned out to not be the case. And so this dude, Beth's ex-boyfriend, um, I'm seeing all these Olympic updates. I'm really not watching the Olympics. I just made a life decision. I'm not going to give a shit about the Olympics this year. But basically, what happened? He finds the fucking ex-boyfriend finds out that he's a father. I thought that was a really cool like scenario and a really good episode. I don't remember which episode it was, but basically he meets his daughter in like an Applebee's type of restaurant, or more like a Dave and Buster's type of thing. And Beth, she still cares about her ex-boyfriend. She's kind of playing referee between like her ex-boyfriend and his estranged daughter, and that's kind of nice. And I thought that was a good storyline. Another episode we did, and they didn't do a flashback to the ex-boyfriend's childhood, did they? They did one to Michael Cera's character, which I thought was interesting. But it might have been cool to like do a flashback to the ex-boyfriend's childhood. I don't think they do it. I don't totally remember if they did. I guess they did, but I don't remember it. But if they didn't, that would have been nice. What else? Um, God, we do see like late in season two, there's like a series of episodes that have like this, sexual assault warning before the episodes, and uh, I mean, it just seemed like a very awkward, teen hookup thing. I'm trying to, because I guess I was thinking it was going to be more traumatic, but to me, it just seemed like it was just like an awkward thing where young Beth has this boyfriend and she's trying to be intimate with him and he's having issues. Am I forgetting something? Because it didn't seem like an assault. It just seemed like awkward teenage behavior. And maybe I'm just blanking out on something traumatic from the show. I'm not trying to underscore it or anything. I don't remember it. I mean, that's the thing, folks. With these days, it's always you see all these warnings about everything. But I mean, at some point, you just have to watch the show, I guess. But in any event, you do feel a lot of sympathy for the Beth character, and I don't know how much of this show is autobiographical for Amy Schumer, but I'll say this: I mean, if she's coming up with this stuff, if this is really from the mind of Amy Schumer, you got to think that her childhood and had its share of obstacles and stuff. And I mean, I give her respect for making herself very successful and having a good career. And I like I said, I like Amy Schumer in movies and stuff. Because I think she's good. I think she brings out good stuff, and I think her characters are very timely. They're of this generation, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I like the show. Trying to think of some other storylines that happened. Oh, the episode, probably the funniest episode of season two, maybe of the whole two seasons, was when they're going to the haunted house. It felt like a very Lizzie Borden-esque haunted house. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks when she saw what she had done. She gave her father 41. It wasn't Lizzie Borden, but it felt like a Lizzie Borden tribute. And basically, they're going to this motel, like this haunted hotel castle thing for this murder mystery. And it was funny. And just the possum, if you saw this episode, it's see, that's the thing, folks. Like to watch this review, if you're watching me and you're saying, "Well, this sounds kind of like an interesting show," I would watch it. I would definitely start with season one. But I mean, I think I'm giving you enough tidbits here that it's a good show. For those of you that have seen it, that fucking possum gimmick was just hilarious. Like, it's dead, and then and then like it pops in the fucking window. That's funny stuff, And I don't think any other comedian did that on some show, and she stole it. So anyway, I just thought it was good. Eventually, they get pregnant. What do they call it? The doula, like the home birthing person in upstate New York or whatever the fuck. And then they have the baby, and then they have a baby. So they have a baby son, and everything's exciting. And I'm trying to think of all these little flashbacks to the show, like when the Michael Rappaport character he leaves the two little girls in his apartment and he goes out for food and he comes back like 5 hours later and he didn't bring them any food. So it's like, what the fuck? So, I mean, you can see like these two young girls were traumatized as children. They had a fucked up childhood, uh, and so it's kind of extended into their adulthood. Amy doesn't trust people. I believe her sister has she's a lesbian. The sister grows up to become a lesbian, which is fine. It's good. But they have even their relationship issues with each other because they have all this history of trauma, like they're war survivors. And the mom dies in season one, and then Rappaport is still kind of floating around, and they try to give him a break, and he tries to be a better father. So anyway, folks, I like this show. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Out of 5 stars, I probably give it a 4. I mean, I'm watching it, or I watched it. I liked it. Is there anything that I would have done differently? I don't really know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, you can always henpeck something to death, but I think the only thing I would have done differently is maybe in addition to the Beth and her sister and the limited flashbacks to Sarah's character's childhood, maybe like the ex-boyfriend character and some of the other supporting characters give flashbacks to their childhood too, because just like with Unprisoned, I think this technique, I guess it's kind of trendy now. Like we all have to figure out our childhood, blah blah blah. But I thought it worked for this show. I thought it worked for Unprisoned, and so I give the show a nice approval rating. Mike gives it 2 thumbs up. So if you happen to be watching this, Mike's Instant Movie Reviews. I just saw Wolverine and Deadpool tonight. I see pretty much every movie in the theater. Some of this stuff, audiobooks. I just did a review of Tulsi Gabbard's audiobook. I did a review of Arnold Schwarzenegger's audiobook. This is all on one Mike Messier. If you're saying, well, gee whiz, Mike, you're such a wonderful critic, but have you ever made anything yourself? Well, assholes, yes, I have. You can go to One Man in the Camera Films, see my wonderful movies, The Impeccable, Blood Sugar Sedace, So You're the Guy, Disregard, The Vampire, Mike Messier documentary, Stickman. And you're saying, well, gee whiz, Mike, I'd really just like to know if you watch pro wrestling and sports. And then you can go to One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan YouTube channel. You can go to One Artist, Mike Messier, for my artwork. And if you're forgetting all of this, just go to MikeMessier.com and scroll to the bottom. MikeMessier.com. Good show, Beth. Good show.